All right, welcome everybody. My name is E.R. Anderson. I am the executive director of Karis Circle. I'm here today with Michael Arcenaux and Denene Millner. We're going to have a great conversation. We are really excited to just be bringing these live into your living room or wherever you're watching tonight. We really hope to have Michael in the house at Karis Books and More in Atlanta, but unfortunately, because of COVID, we are doing this remotely. But the good thing about that is you can watch this from wherever you are in the world. The last few events, we've had folks literally from around the world, around the country watching these events. So we hope that even if you're not located in Georgia, you will buy Michael's book, I Don't Want to Die Poor, from Karis. There's a link at the bottom. There you go. It's a beautiful book. You can also buy I Can't Date Jesus, which is his first book, which is wonderful. You can also buy any of Denene Millner's 1100 books that she has written. Yes. Also, Denene Millner, I hope we'll get to talk a little bit about your imprints because Denene, if you don't know, in addition to literally writing more books than I can keep up with, because every time I see you've written a new book, is putting out beautiful children's books that are changing the world. So we're going to have a great conversation. I'm going to get out of the way and let y'all just kind of talk. We were going to encourage folks. If you're in the chat, you can say stuff, put out questions. At the bottom, we got the Ask a Question link. Go ahead, pop a question in there for Michael or Denene, and we're just going to have some fun. So welcome, and thanks for being here.
Thank you again. I love his accent. I'm tired of living up north.
See, that's why you need to come to Atlanta. Come be with me.
I tried, but somebody's president blocking our blessing. But I will get there eventually because I still need to find Portia Williams in you.
And there's that. And is there a crush there on Portia? Is she like? I know Rihanna is the one who would get the pass from you. Is Portia?
Yes. Oh no. I don't want to do anything with Portia other than. Okay, so I'm actually going to have this in context of the book.
Yes.
What I like about Portia is she got on my nerves at first because she wasn't the brightest, very judgmental. However, even if you don't like her, you have to admit if there's any character from that show that has actually tried to grow up, forgive herself for some things. Granted, she could do better with her men, but so can many of us.
Right.
I feel like Portia has really grown up. Also, she's really funny, and she's like the least evil of the cast. Candy ain't really evil, but you get it. And Cynthia, bless her heart, but she needs to leave. Right. That said, I wanted to confirm because I quote a Real Housewife.
Yes, and you try to and you say which one is your absolute favorite that you would be like if you were on a reality show.
Which housewife would I be like? I don't know, but Erica Jane. I shouted out, and I am proud to announce she knows I'm alive. She actually saw that I quoted her in the book and was into it. So now 2 Real Housewives know of my existence. Erica Jane and Candace from Real Housewives of Potomac, who actually read I Can't Date Jesus and this one. So 2 housewives and counting.
I like Candace. She's a little spark plug.
I like Candace too. I'm like, why y'all don't? Whatever.
We watch way too much reality TV, don't we?
We do, but it's within context because I was almost up for a reality show.
You talk about
it. I was.
And you talk about that, and I don't want to die poor. You talk about you mentioned charade a couple of times. So
I thought that's what you mean. Yes. Okay, so I know myself. I have self-awareness. I happen to think I'm a nice person. Well, I'm polite. Well, not nice. But I know people think I have resting bitch face. I also know that I have a really slick mouth. So as I mentioned in the chapter, reality is technically real, but at the same time, you're basically volunteering your IP for them to create some type of narrative based on however they want. And knowing how I can be with a slick mouth, I could just imagine I would be in the confessional with this. This is actually water because I didn't have a chance to make my Casamigos, but I could see me sipping a drink, being real blunt about something, and then they make me out to be the devil. So I just felt like they would have made me a bitch. And as I write in the book, I don't have any problem with reality, but I think for me at the time, it came from a place of I didn't put it in there, but I'll tell you, Ebony owed me a bunch of money.
Mm-hmm.
Some other opportunities that were supposed to happen didn't present themselves. Freelancing is very difficult,
right.
especially when you have student loans.
Right.
Sometimes it's something you think not necessarily too good for, but not really for you. Right. You will, and at least I did, at least consider it, because social mobility is really hard, particularly for whatever type of industry you want to do. I've already had, by this time I already elected to be in media entertainment. And actually around this time, this is when you were helping me try to get like a book deal, trying to convince me to keep going because it was really hard for Black authors. Mm-hmm. And the sad reality is potentially being on a type of reality show probably would have gotten me a book deal faster. But then, as you know, and this is no shade, that could lead to you catching a case. It could also lead, in the case of me being a Black gay guy, sorry to keep going, but as I mentioned in the book, you know, we don't get paid that much. You don't get paid that much to do reality shows, depending.
That's
and
right.
If you're a gay Black person, you probably be valued even less. So in this situation, I'm pointing out, I basically would have went through all of this for $1,500 an episode before taxes, maybe 8 episodes. They would have had this footage for me for a lifetime, and what it would have yielded me. And again, if you want to do that, it's cool, but that's not for what I wanted to do. But the fact that I even considered it is a testament to the fact that like it can be really hard to kind of go a lot of different directions, which is why I could end up seeing how some people end up, you know, going upside somebody's head on VH1 to our entertainment.
Right. But I mean, as writers, you write, you know, exquisitely in the book about a writer's life and
the writer guy herself.
How difficult it is to make good money, to actually get paid for the work that you do, and having to, you know, like run up to offices and be like, run me my coin, and all of the different things that you have to do. Why did you choose writing?
I'm a masochist. Well, actually, you know, I didn't want to ever become a full-time writer, at least not the way it happened. I was a broadcast journalism major. I referenced in I Can't Date Jesus. I feel like it's fine. You would have got this in person. I used the phrase, I thought I'd be Katie Couric with a dick.
Right.
Things happen. I let some of my insecurities, plus just didn't really, I'm not an anchor man type. But I fell into writing kind of through insecurities, just realizing this might be the best way to get my voice out, given they're not really making space for people like me anyway at the time. I think what became challenging was when I graduated, the way you came up in media literally overnight changed.
Right.
And there was the Great Recession. And so what I try to tell a lot of folks is like, if you really want to write for a living, you have to be very realistic about how you make money. And you know this, like you even mad for me about what I got for the first book.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
The inconvenient truth is I didn't have to take it, but I wanted to write a book a very certain way. And you read pretty much every version of the proposal and not really much changed. Things get clearer, but fundamentally the book was still much the same. It was just they didn't have any trust.
Absolutely.
I elected to take the little money I could get to do it my way, under the belief that if I got to do it I wanted to do my way, it would yield me certain results. Mm-hmm. That said, as you know, it doesn't mean it's still going to work itself out. Because I wrote this book, you know, I got a lot more money. I got what I think I deserved based on, you know, talking to folks. And that's a lot of things we have to learn to talk to people.
Right.
But, you know, as I mentioned, just for so many different examples, like when you start behind, which is what a lot of us, you know, look like me are doing, we start from behind, and it's always hard to play catch up. Keep going. But like, yeah, it's just always connected. Absolutely. And so it's one thing to like, at least for me, I write about culture and politics, and I'm really passionate about a lot of those things. But you know, I don't give a fuck about a lot of that shit. It's not that I'm faking it, but it's like, that's kind of recognizing you are a part of the culture, so you need to respond to what the collective culture is. Where with my books, I had to learn to become more comfortable to talk about money out of just sheer frustration, the fact that I didn't feel like a lot of the conversations about loans or social mobility or just being Black in media entertainment weren't really spoken of in a perspective that I felt really resonated with me and folks like me.
Right.
But you know.
What I love about the new book is that, you know, like when people write a first memoir, you think, okay, well, what else do I have to say? Like I've poured myself out onto the page. I've bled all over these words. And what more is there to say? And right away, you understood that there was still more to say. And that even at your young age, I know you're not like a baby, but you're still, to me, my little brother.
I'll take it because I'm older than other people. So we'll take it.
That you had something else to say, and how relevant right now is what you had to say in this book. Like, it's something that you've lived for, you know, since the second that you took loans out to go to school, right? But where we are right now in the middle of a pandemic, people are really experiencing, some for the first time.
Yeah.
This kind of way, the way that you've had to live, are experiencing for the first time what it means to like not be able to afford healthcare, what it means to not be able to pay these exorbitant bills that, you know, we have, what it means to not have a steady paycheck coming in. And so talk to me about the relevancy of the message that you managed to get into this second book, where you get to talk about your life in a kind of way that is still on the same message as the first book, I Can't Date Jesus, but brings around to a whole nother sort of aspect of your life.
Right. Well, and no gas, but it comes from, frankly, looking at people's careers like you. Because even when I reached out to you, the cold emails and stuff, you could I feel like you could tell I did my little research. I'm like, oh, she did this. How did she do that? It's people like David Sedaris who, you know, actually thematically, those, you know, I guess some of the earlier books, they're all different, but they still kind of connect.
Right.
And particularly ones that were like kind of released in unison, not in unison, but like not that far from each other. Sorry, Pandemic Brain. Mm-hmm. My thing with I Can't Date Jesus is, you know this, we kind of met online around 2009-10.
Right.
Shout out to Lena Andrews. Book didn't come out.
I fell in love with your blog at the time. I was like every day, like waiting for you to write something.
The book came out 2018. So for me, it was, you know, I think around 25, 26, starting to talk to you about stuff. Not long after, late 20s, really pushed for it. But I had a separate, I knew that I wanted to talk about how I came to accept queerness and sexuality and pleasure. Because I think with I Can't Date Jesus, there is a beauty in figuring out who you are on your own terms. Right. And I don't want to die poor. I wanted to write about the fact that, you know, that sentiment is still true, but inconvenient truth is choice is expensive.
Right.
True freedom comes with a cost based on the way the society we live in. And to know me is to know I've talked about these loans every day of my life. Mm-hmm. And again, I really wanted to, I mean, I'll be honest, I didn't know I was going to talk about it to the extent to which I did throughout the book, but even that, it turned out to be for the best. Mm-hmm. But I really, in the same way, I wanted to show queer Black people, gay Black people, however you want to identify the term, is folks like me. I wanted to really talk about working class Black folks. And I kind of even realized just the subtext of a lot of my work, be it the culture stuff, the political stuff, even the blog, there's always been like a Black, working class Black element there. And there's always been me trying to like rally for just folks who I feel like don't ever really get to be in these spaces, because you understand in a way that, again, most people, regardless of our ages, like in this biz, they don't get because they don't have to live it. Right. And I feel really bad about a lot of people having to, you know, essentially live a life kind of like both of ours, but mine even, especially certain like the financial challenges, particularly with the loan stuff. But, and I know this too, like I feel odd that I'm kind of uniquely qualified, not for the doomsday aspect of it with the mask and stuff, but the fact that you kind of just are not always in control of your life.
That's right.
That's something that I realized from the fact of how I grew up in like a violent house, and addiction and money even had a lot to do with that. Right. This is an extension of that. Money is going to control a lot of our fates right now. And the fact that Donald Trump is in control of a lot of our fates, God help us. Because what's crazy is I wrote this book basically is like, I survived a financial crisis created by a really stupid Republican president and an industry that didn't know how to make it money. And here we are, the second one of my adulthood, and I just turned 36 by an even dumber, more corrupt Republican president. And now many industries that don't know how to make money. And it's, yeah, I mean, it's just, I feel really bad for people. And also, I don't know about, you know, I feel bad that people that I'm really trying to get to buy the book are people who are hurt the most.
Right.
So there's this weirdness of being like, this is my living, this is my livelihood. If you got it, please buy it. But also being cognizant of the fact that like, it's hard for people. So
but there are some things, right, but there are some things that, you know, like there's commiseration in your words, there's in your words, and you know, it's well worth the read for sure.
Yeah, and I am a good price point. I will actually say people make jokes about being a paperback Toya, but I say this is like paperback Toya. I'm sorry, I gotta always use that. Toya Wright is a New York Times bestselling author, Tamar, whatever. But it's still funny. Yeah, the book is affordable, and also I will say I'm talking about money. The book is really dark. I don't pretend that it's not, but there is hope in the book.
Right, absolutely.
And that is something I think is really important. I'm not going to pretend to know what's going to happen tomorrow, even by the end of this, because Lord knows that man could be on TV right now.
Right.
But I will say, sometimes, and I hope people take from the book, is that when you don't really have always like the choices, the options to really do stuff, feel how you feel, you deserve that, but don't settle in it. And then sometimes what I missed throughout a lot of that suffering was that was actual opportunity for me to be calm and to just do what little I could do within even this space. Because honestly, even my mom said now, if this was a year ago when I was really kind of still going through certain stuff, this would be a much bigger nightmare for me.
Yeah.
But I think now me accepting things that are not in my control, forgiving myself for things that I never needed to be forgiven for. Another message about the book.
Right. Absolutely.
These are all little tools that I think, you know, I don't pretend to be Ayanna Vincent or Susie Orman, but, you know, I do have a realistic pragmatic outlook on how you handle emotional debt and financial debt.
Absolutely. I've read it and I plan on giving it to my daughters to read. You know, one of my babies is about to go to college. She's about to graduate next week, as a matter of fact.
Got that money. Yeah, mama did right.
And she's going to be heading to George Washington University. And one of the things that her father and I wanted for all three of our kids was that they go to school and not have to deal with debt, because we understood, being the first ones. Well, I was the first one in my family. He was the second generation of college students in his family. We understood what student loan debt was going to do to us. And
I'm the first to go through the world like you.
Have that message as Black people, as people who don't have a whole lot of money, as people who don't have a family with a track record of going to school. We're supposed to go to school, but we don't necessarily know how to make that happen and what the cost is for that. And so, what I loved about the way that you opened the book was your mom just like, you're a selfish bastard. Like, are you?
Yeah. And I wanted to make sure I never want to make my mom look like a villain.
Yeah.
Because there's a way that you can write about people doing things that you don't agree with or may even hurt you, but be cognizant of the fact that it comes from a genuine place of concern. So thank you, because she did apologize for it, but as I write, I do feel that guilty. And in my case, it was like, damn, do I want to be another Black man that has like disappointed my mom? Has she not been through enough? Did I really want to be one more person to like put on her, which she doesn't feel, but it's just the concern that I had. And thankfully your daughter won't have to go through that. I feel really bad for a lot of the students who are going to basically be taking out all this debt and I don't say this disparagingly, but the University of Phoenix, because they're not going to be in campuses. So I think a lot of people are going to be questioning, why am I paying all this money? Why am I even dealing with all this? And particularly Black college graduates, because I write about it from this private student loan debt experience, which, you know, of the $1 trillion in student loan debt, it's only $100 billion, but that's a sizable portion of the debt still, and that disproportionately impacts Black college graduates. And why does that happen? Because we don't have the access to certain types of capital. They prey on us, It's essentially the educational equivalent of a subprime mortgage loan.
That's right.
Black schools don't have the resources. Even schools like Howard, the ones that I went to, they might get money from the federal government, but it's not, it's not comparable to other stuff. Yeah. Again, we all start from behind. And this doesn't even blind you to the fact that, like, even if you graduated, I'm poorly paraphrasing the study, but I was recent last 2 years, like Black college graduates from Ivy League schools, white, state college, high school graduates, still earning potential is not that far off starting.
Which is crazy.
These are all the things that you have to be cognizant about, because while you want to get a fair shake, and you want as close as proximity as your Black self can get to a fair shake in this country, that doesn't still preclude you from like all of the other things that you have to go through no matter what. So what I'm hoping people do is really assess the type of debt they want to carry, because frankly, until the system changes, you're going to have to probably take some if you're Black and not rich.
And that's a conversation that we need to be having with kids well before they get to the point where they're filling out applications and trying to figure out where they're going to school, right? This is a conversation that needs to be had with kids as young as personally, I think, as a mother who is, sending 3 kids, who sent 2 kids to college and has a third going. This is a conversation that needs to be had with kids as early as 3rd and 4th grade. That's when I started talking to my kids about it.
I feel so bad that that's so valid and true, because the onus should not be like, which is why I was so glad that, in a lot of interviews I've been doing, which I'm all fortunate to have, particularly like the one I did with Fresh Air the Air yesterday. Mm-hmm. Because it wasn't the first time. She was actually gentle with it, but I made sure I reframed the question about would you go back and do it all again, because that should not be the question.
Right.
College is only becoming more expensive. Wages are still stagnated. The sky is literally falling. You cannot, and you should have never expected a teenager to have that much financial literacy. So many people talk about financial literacy. Here's the thing about financial literacy, what I've come to learn. Make more money. All of a sudden, people will explain that shit to you. Right. They will come to you and help you figure it out. That's the problem.
Right.
That's a lot. I mean, don't get me wrong. You still need to be prepared. I agree with what you said. But I think, until other things change, we need to be talking about debt cancellation. Because I think it's so funny they can pump trillions of dollars into the economy to keep the stock market afloat. But imagine what debt cancellation do, which has already proven to boost the economy. It helps everybody. Like, if I'm going to get out of student loan debt, I won't. If debt cancellation even passed, I'm not going to benefit from it. But it's not about me, and you shouldn't be thinking about it in those terms. All these people are like, well, what about me? Life ain't about you, just you, beloved. We all need to be a little bit more compassionate. This is the part where it might sound like Sesame Street, but I do think we're living in a stupid parable where literally we'd all be better off if we were all a little bit more considerate of somebody else's.
That's right.
So I'm still getting these lecturing emails. I mean, most people are being like sympathetic and understanding, or they're relating to it. But I'm still getting these emails talking about you shouldn't have known better. You should have known better. Blah, 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 blah.
How would you? How would you?
Well, all the people who are telling me that are white men who don't have to live my life. So it's like, I just whatever.
Basically, that's exactly it. Listen, my ex-husband went to Yale, and I went with him to a couple of their, their class reunions, and they do the class reunions like in one weekend. They'll have, whatever his class year is, they do like, in series of 4. So every 4th class shows up on the same weekend and has, like their weekend at Yale. And his class, and the last one that I went to, raised $32 million.
Wealth.
$32 million in a weekend during their class reunion. That's more than Spelman probably gets, in a decade.
That just made me feel so poor. I am very grateful for everything that I like going on right now, but I was like, wow, 32 million in a weekend. That's okay.
In a weekend. And so, and just showing you I say this to say that the disparities, the same white men who would be sitting there lecturing you in your emails and telling you that, like you should have known better, they get to say that because they're the ones who are going to the Yale reunions on the weekend and sitting there, laughing it up with their friends, their fellow alumni, and raising $32 million for just the one class, for just that one class. I'm not talking about all the classes that showed up in that weekend. I'm talking about that one class.
That sounds about, yeah. I think sometimes the people that want to do that are people who kind of believe in the myth of meritocracy in this country. This idea that you blah, blah, blah. I don't, I mean, well, we know better. I'm like, Donald Trump, I hate to keep bringing that man up. I'm sorry, y'all, but I mean, look, he's the reason why I'm at home.
That's why we're here.
Not in Atlanta, like with a Georgia peach. Donald Trump is an idiot. I just had to stop there. Oh, I'm not supposed to touch my face. Don't die, Michael. I did wash my hands before this, but like, don't touch my face. I forgot what I was saying. He just made me mad.
Right.
No, the thing about meritocracy is like, everybody wants to believe that they really earn stuff. Well, most people do. But I think a lot of success is not necessarily, I mean, don't get me wrong, if you work hard and all of those things, that can yield you tangible results. But a lot of certain types of successes is more so dumb luck, proximity to white people, or anybody of means who can put you in a position to make money, which is more often than not through whiteness in some capacity.
Talk about it.
And again, dumb luck. And hard work will keep you there. But people would rather choose to believe that because they want to believe in this idea of like, oh, I get to be rich. Right. It's all about like being rich and just being like that person instead of like the other person. And what I've been trying to get people, what I think people are realizing right now is most Americans are 2 checks away from complete ruin, no matter how big those checks are. Mm-hmm. That is a testament to a flawed system that should make people realize truly, if you're not making as much as you should, like no matter how much you're making, you're probably not being paid as much as you should. And if you're the person, unless you're the person taking advantage. So why are you thumbing your nose up? It's even something as me, for example, talking about OnlyFans, which pre-Beyonce, but I'm so glad our spirits are always connected. I don't want to judge people who turn to that because people like porn, people like sex, allegedly, I heard. Right. People are, if you're doing it on your terms and you're finding ways to support yourself, who am I to judge you? Like anything, like even the reality stuff. Like I didn't judge folks for doing reality. I actually named one show, Chasing Atlanta, as an example of like a bunch of queer and trans Black folk who are hilarious and making the most with not the biggest budget, but very inventive and clearly funny. Right. That you should just pay the people what they deserve. Exactly. And that's the kind of like bigger point that still seems to be missing with folks, but you know.
Okay, can we talk about you listing all of the different jobs that you
Yes, I mean,
make money.
When the podiatrist opens back up, I'm gonna get back to my glory days and be a big toho if I got to, just in case. I should have ran track.
Feet?
Huh?
You have pretty feet.
I don't right now, actually. It's very sad. We're gonna get it better though. I don't know what happened. One day you just, ever since that one place owed me all that money, I just was like, what happened? But I believe we gonna fix it. But I still see these feet pictures posted on my thing. Some of my friends ain't slick, no judgment, but I see what you're doing. Make your money how you got to. Probably should have been fancy Republicans like Polite Secret, but you know what? My mouth is so slick.
You wouldn't have been able to handle it, baby.
I can't deal with no Republican. I would have ended up cussing out Tucker Carlson at some party.
Without question.
Yeah, that wouldn't have worked. I do think, even though it's a separate chapter, I'm still going to try to figure out a mixtape. I just think that should happen.
And be a rapper, not Donald Glover.
No. Yes, hopefully Donald Glover doesn't take offense to that, but I thought that shit was funny. I said I wanted to be the Black Donald Glover, although I wasn't quantifying his blackness, but that shit was funny. Y'all know Black people didn't fuck with him like that at first.
Donald Glover.
Yeah. Donald Glover funny. I love Atlanta, but it was just funny, tongue-in-cheek. I would like to think he would laugh, but yeah. K-Street that was one of the fun chapters that I got to write. Because the book is heavy. I want people to laugh. Because everybody's like, why didn't you go be a writer? I'm like, well, there are a lot of other jobs I could have done in this country that you would have considered more respectable, but I would have made less money. And then you would have really been like, you ain't nothing.
And also, I shout out to the writers who don't know math. I appreciated you.
Oh, yeah, I would not have been
what was it that you was not the corporate lawyer? What was the other? It was something to do with math, and you were like, yeah, I could have never done that because it would have required me to actually know numbers. And on top of that, I went to schools that did not teach me math well.
I am a product of, well, George W. Bush was my governor.
And that explains it all.
There we go. I did the best I can, and you know how they allocate those, resources. Although they just torn down again, they really did tear down my high school, and now it looks like a fancy new juvenile detention center versus an old prison.
Where did you get your humor from? Like, this is a book that is very serious. Like there are.
Maybe people cry and I feel bad.
There are some moments that can be dark, like when you were discussing sort of how you deal with anxiety and the way that you the things that you've done to your body as almost a way to have control over something that you have no control over. So there are those moments where we see some serious darkness and things that we can all relate to that maybe we don't say out loud. But good Lord, you are a fool.
Yes, thank you.
It's funny as hell.
It comes from, I have to be honest, everyone in my immediate family is, the family I know, but everyone in my immediate family is like really, really funny. And everyone has kind of basically an individual humor. It's a lot of strong individual personalities within all of us, and I just kind of can't help it. I sometimes frustrate myself that even when I am like really angry or something going on, somehow a joke will come up and I'm like, damn, you annoying. It's like to myself. But I will say one difference that I hope people notice from I Can't Date Jesus to I Don't Want to Die Poor. I'm actually curious if you did. While I still wanted to make sure the book was funny, I let what was natural be natural. Like if I felt like a joke come in. But there are also some instances.
I want you to know that I noticed that.
Thank you. But I actually pulled some of the humor out, even if it felt natural, because I thought, just let this breathe. I wanted to make sure I made people laugh in I Can't Date Jesus, and I really wanted to make people laugh again with I Don't Want to Die Poor. But in wanting to still be really funny, I felt less pressure to be funny because certain chapters, like with Mama's Boy, there's nothing funny about that. I mean, there's a little joke here and there, but it's not funny. Stuff about, purging to feel a sense of control. There are jokes in there, just I can't help it. But I also let it just breathe. I think it was just kind of really important to let the dark parts be the dark parts, but to still be me and be a fool.
Well, it felt like you were more at ease, honestly.
Yeah.
I Can't Date Jesus is a brilliant piece of work, but this writer to writer, I read because I like the storytelling, but I read because this is my profession. This is what I do. I love words, and I like to study how people put words on a page. And there's a difference in your writing in this book compared to the first. It feels like you were more at ease.
Thank you. And, I just, again, it took so long. I mean, again, everything happens in the timetable it's supposed to, even if my impatient ass don't get that all the time. But I think, a lot of that first book, obviously I, rewrote it or went back and stuff, but, that came from a place, that book was intended to be a lot about my 20s and teens, and ended up including like the little bit of my early 30s to kind of, set the tone of where I was at now. But this book is really like, it's still kind of taking you back to some of my past, but I'm really living in like the now. This is more about where I am right now. And much like I Can't Date Jesus, I'm actually not glad, but I Can't Date Jesus and Taking So Long was so perfect because much like I needed time to really process that stuff, it's better to be in the place, as I hear these sirens again, I'm just glad I'm not glad, but I needed more time to kind of reach the place that I was about the debt, because it really does haunt you. That's what I'm trying to struggle to say, but I'm really proud of the book. I hated writing every minute of it, but I'm really proud of it. So that means a lot that you, of all people, say that.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's a beautiful book and a relevant book and a necessary book. The chapter that really kind of took me back to when I had student debt. I had a little bit.
Yeah.
Can I just say this? I really think that Hofstra University robbed me, because I had a full tuition scholarship and my dad had to scrape up the money to pay for my dorm room. And at some point in like junior year, they put me on loans. And I didn't understand how it was that I had loans when I had a full tuition scholarship and my dad was paying for and I really do believe now, after all of these years, like, I think, you know what it was? There's another person that I know who went to Hofstra, and she said that she caught them while she was a student double charging her.
I would say, I don't know. From yours, I would say I have read before in the past, like some schools, they get, benefits from the lenders of essentially, grooming their students into it. It's not lost on me. A lot of college students can attest to this. You, particularly Black college students, all of a sudden in your dorm mailbox, you see stuff about credit cards and private loan people, in case you need a little extra money. Where did that come from? I don't know who gets a benefit from that referral. Again, not all, but it's about money, and I'm not surprised they take advantage.
Absolutely.
Again, like, I hope, frankly, it's hard to promote a book in a pandemic. I'm grateful to still anybody having space, but I'm really hoping high school students get access to the book.
Exactly.
Because it's not financial literacy, but it's a realistic, again, explanation of what your life could look like. Because don't be a mess like me, and also college graduates, because, nag Joe Biden to death to get debt cancellation. Because as I mentioned in the book, particularly in my situation for private loan debt, like, if I die right now, my mom would still be on the hook for the loans because there's no way to discharge that type of debt. No one should have to think about that type of thing in the midst of a pandemic. I'm like, oh, you really can't die because your mom's still gone.
Right. Yeah. Or I can't have health insurance, which was a beautifully written chapter too, about like how difficult, how you lost a friend who, who couldn't afford good insurance, died young, and how you had to make some really hard decisions about how you take care of your own health, because you have student health bills versus paying, healthcare.
It's so insane that I think a lot of people are like now paying hundreds of dollars a month for what is essentially health insurance in name, in that basically if something really is bad, no matter what it says, you can at least have access to get that diagnosis, although that'd probably be hard in this climate. And then you can set up your GoFundMe. It's just, that is bizarre, particularly because of the state. It's just all a mess. So
insurance is like a coupon. Like, here's a little 5% off.
I was trying to lend nuance to kind of again, like these weird spaces of like, okay, do I personally feel broke all the time with all this debt? Yes. But on paper, it's particularly the government, I make way too much money to get any type of subsidy. Right. They don't take it to my door. They're like, no. And you actually need to give me more in taxes. Don't get me started. Right. But those are the things that, like, because I essentially told the story of how I, the child of a nurse who didn't even necessarily I didn't come from money, but I had Black doctors because my mom was so adamant about making sure I didn't become one of the Black people that don't take care of themselves. But I write all that in the chapter to point out how you become that way.
Right.
They instill the fear. These fears are not bred of nothing. One benefit from Howard is, though, I learned my freshman year about how nihilism comes up. Like, I didn't know that turn of phrase at the time, but I'm like, oh, this explains literally everybody I grew up with.
Right.
And I wanted to lend voice to how, I don't want to be that Black man whose heart gives out or get gout. Probably gonna do some push-ups after this, to be honest. But society kind of can push you that way. Even, successful, educated, yada, yada, yada. It just happens.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to see if any folks have questions. Do we have any questions, ER? Somebody said, I see Auntie Anita in the background. Yes. And I like, Auntie Anita is in the background. Yes.
I'm so glad I saw her last year, because Lord knows when she probably ain't doing this no more. She's like, I'm tired of y'all. I told you I was retired. Because that Anita back on that reunion tour was a long time, which I wasn't complaining, but been so long missing you, baby. Wait, did I miss the question?
Well, someone just said they saw Auntie.
Oh yeah.
There is
questions. Come on.
There is a question in the chat more about debt if you want to look at it.
Buy the book. Okay.
I see. Let me, this is when Auntie gets real technically challenged here.
Okay, I see the question.
I see it. I really appreciate you talking about how financially and emotionally crushing it is to have student loan debt, considering how even the best proposal being discussed in Congress now would only cut $10,000 of each person's student loan debt. Would now be a good time to put energy into a collective effort to have student debt to be forgiven, such as the Occupy student debt effort?
Yes.
Or advice?
Yeah. So, and I don't want to die poor, but you can click down by paperback toy prices, affordable, local bookstores. We all good. I give credit to a number of politicians, but specifically Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren about introducing debt cancellation into the national conversation by way of like the presidential primary. Since then, Joe Biden, who I did follow about his role in Georgia's bankruptcy bill, but to his credit, through Elizabeth Warren, has recently announced a debt cancellation proposal, which does not go as far as Elizabeth Warren's, and frankly, Bernie Sanders like screw all this, cancel it all, which I was more for.
Yeah.
Warren was more pragmatic. Biden's version is less than that. However, there is specifically, curiously, a caveat that they extend a little bit more to Black college graduates because, again, people like me are offset disproportionately by certain types of debt. I say all that to say the fact that he's already shifted this swiftly is not to be discounted. And I actually think it's further encouragement to push him and all politicians to strongly consider debt cancellation because it is one of many ways I think that I'm no economist, but I ain't dumb. I'm like him. Right. I understand like debt cancellation has already been proven. Much smarter people than me have already mentioned that, forget my knee brace, I was already talking about how that would actually that would create jobs, boost the economy, allow millennials of all stripes from Beyonce to my niece to buy things. It would be beneficial, I think, and frankly, all of us at home with this raggedy internet that need to fix anyway. It's not even raggedy because of us. It's because America's infrastructure is raggedy. Now is an opportunity to really push all these people. The current thing that's with the $10,000 is not the best start. However, to give credit, the fact that was even introduced by Democrats this year, again, is very encouraging. Troll the hell out of them people and get debt cancellation. And watch out for people on the right who are curiously appropriating. It's like Josh Hawley in Missouri, who's a Missouri senator, who is essentially, he might as well be Satan to me, was sounding like Bernie Sanders a few months ago. I would not be surprised as unfortunately, all of this becomes harder for the country, that more people will start talking about this. I think we need to push everybody because we ain't got it. And if there's any advice that I can give to people who are struggling with debt, if you don't have it to give right now and you can't pay it, you do the best you can. You pay what you can to what matters most. I understand the concern about worrying about your credit, but frankly, we're in the middle of what it looked like. I mean, it's not, we don't have to call it depression, but it's already this bad. So a lot of people's credit's messed up. So you be all right, and they'll be all right because they're going to be a menace to you, and it's only going to exacerbate your anxiety and stress, and will just ultimately make you counterproductive.
That's right.
I see one more question about how, I'm sorry to do, hone my voice as a writer, and how do you brave enough to tell your truth on the page? Well, I actually started a blog to really get in the habit of writing daily and to connect with other people. It was me using the internet, one, to just get my point of view out there, as a writer, just to get in the habit of writing better. That I just read a lot. Okay, that's the thing. Reading teaches you how to, like, in terms of structure, and gives you, I'll read for that. But in terms of actually finding your voice, one thing I don't think a lot of people take into account is that you just sometimes don't know what you don't really have anything to say. And you think you do. And I don't mean that in like a disparaging way, because everyone is capable of, at any age, of having something to say. But I do increasingly worry about the lack of informed opinions. So even when I was young, maybe I thought I was the best writer in the world, but I didn't talk about anything that I never backed up like extensively. It's always a citation. Like you know, like I even in my blog when I'm dragging, I don't know, what's her name? She was on Love and Hip Hop from Most City, and she really couldn't rap. She had that awful song, Hazel E. God bless her though. Even when I was trying to drag her, I had like receipts. It's anything from Hazel E to I don't know. When I was writing about Harry Reid, I just was very consistent about researching, reading a lot, and writing every day, just to get in the habit. I think that matters more than anything in terms of like opening up. Brave, I appreciate the compliment. I don't know. You don't owe anybody your story. You don't owe anybody anything. You write it. At least I think you have to, if you want to talk about yourself, particularly in a memoir, I would like to think it serves a greater purpose. This book, I didn't want to talk about purging. I don't want to talk about all of that. But you know what? I felt this will make people feel better. And that outweighs my concern about how people might judge me. Mm-hmm. There are maybe other things that I felt I don't need to share this. This is mine. Or I've already shared enough. So I take it out. Mm-hmm. It's about comfort level. I have a purpose in terms of why I wanted to share this information, and I stuck to that. When I felt it didn't align, I didn't do it, and I don't have to. But one more thing is when you're telling your story, you're telling other people's stories, and you need to be cognizant of the fact that you do so within context of talking about yourself, but somebody else's life isn't necessarily yours to tell. So be careful of that too. I feel weird giving advice when you're right there, by the way. Author role models, Denene Millner, because literally check the receipts. No, like every genre, and she has her own imprint now. Well, she already had her own imprint, which was doing really well indie, and now she's at Simon & Schuster, like putting out all these. That is the template. She writes other people's books. She writes fiction. She's done multiple genres, and she's lasted throughout the 90s, even like one decade. Early 90s, mid 90s, late 90s, different receipts. Early 2000s, mid 2000s, 2020s, where we are now, receipts. You can look at how her books have been adapted, which one, how it's going. Like, there's a lot you can learn generally from her. I like David Sedaris. I love Samantha Irby. What is the book I always bring up? Bulletproof Diva, Lisa Jones, the old book from Village Voice columnist. I love that book so much.
Oh yes, Lisa.
Yeah. But yeah, I really, because Denene is honestly one of the few Black people you can also think of that has done so much of like everything. Yeah, I genuinely adore Denene. She gives really honest advice about money too. But I think a lot of times you really need to study writers who not only have the success that you would like to have, but also conduct themselves and I don't know. I just genuinely admire how you are. Yeah. So yeah, it's a lot to admire. And I'm gonna be shady, but there's one person who she always been looking out. He was shady as hell to me. The one person that was mean to me. That old goofy man sent me a Facebook friend request. We ain't friends. I'll tell you after this is later. But yeah, she's always been good to me, and she's done everything, and she's very humble. She's a New York Times bestselling author multiple times over. Get into her, get him into Samantha Irby. Kisei Layman is amazing. If you're talking about old stuff like, I mean, everybody's reading, revisiting, but Sister outside of Audre Lorde is just fantastic. Even the way she writes, particularly about going to, I guess, then Soviet and whatever, and just that. I mean, I can't go nowhere now because they're about to travel ban us, but I had thought about potentially traveling right about that experience. That's something to look out to. Okay, I'll stop now. Are there any more?
I think there might be one more. Let me see.
What are the things that you like to do professionally? I Can't Date Jesus has been adapted. Television. There are no guarantees in life, but should I be given the opportunity to have that go to series, that is something I'll be doing. Also, the hustle don't stop, but shut up, Michael.
It does not stop.
I want to write television and film. Eventually, somebody quit playing, give me a late night show. I don't know. I'm really open to doing a lot of different things, but my main immediate focus is to continue writing and to continue to elevate the type of writing I want to do. Like I was, I'm an essayist. I love that, but I never wanted to do that full time. Kind of fell into that. So hopefully I get to write more books, write some TV, write some film, and not die. It's kind of like what I want to do now. Get out the hood, ghetto, pay off my loans. Yeah. I thank you all for the space. Is there anything else I was supposed to? This is fun. It's because it's you.
I've
enjoyed these already, but like I'm talking to you. This is easy.
Right, because you're my baby. I have to say it again. I'm so proud of you.
I appreciate it.
So far, you got
She has counseled me in the moments where people have said the most disrespectful, dismissive. Yeah. She really has counseled me, so I will stop my testimonial now, but I really do appreciate it. I'm really proud of I Don't Want to Die Poor. Let's please support the indie bookstore. I'll be complaining about a lot of other folks, although we love our retailers. Don't get me in trouble, but down below. But thank you.
Support the indies, support Karis Books, support Michael Arceneaux.
Support Denene Millner books, because I need to quit playing and sell her books.
Author who has an incredible voice, who is telling an incredible story with this book and with I Can't Date Jesus. I read the early proposal for I Can't Date Jesus, and knew that there was magic there. I just knew it. And I don't just give advice to just any old body. I don't
she
just.
Does not. That's why I received it. I was like, this is
to just any old body, but this man is magic. And I knew early on that there was something special there, and here it is. Here it is. Get this in your life.
Thank you.
Get it not just for yourself, but for your kids, your nephews, your nieces. Go to the local middle school. Don't even, yes, give it to the high school students, but get to the middle school kids and get them thinking about debt and what that can do to your life if you don't know what you're doing and you get caught in the snares of what these people have in store for people who look like us, and just the way that they choose to keep us down. He's telling a story, and it's a very relevant story. It's a very important story, and there are some great lessons in here that we need to impart on kids early on, so that they don't end up in the snare that's been the traps that are being set for them. So, if you get a copy for yourself, go ahead and get a couple of more copies for the, do that favor for the kids coming up behind us, for sure.
Thank you so much. And thank you all for watching. I just want one thing. The book is really, a lot of you are going through a really hard time. I can only imagine what a lot of you are going through right now. But if you do read the book and you will feel heard. I try to add a human story to like struggle. And again, I'm really thankful that people made time, because this has been really nice. I'll stop talking now. You go.
Thank you all so much. This was really lovely. And if folks who are watching, please share the link with your friends. So the link that you used to get here, Crowdcast / I Don't Want to Die Poor, you can share that. It's going to be available for rebroadcast immediately. So if you got friends on the West Coast or whatever who you think would like this, send it out to them and let them know they need to watch it. We want to make sure the link right down there to buy the book. It's live. You can hit it right now. The last thing I got to do is ask you to support our work. Everything that we do is individually donor supported. We got this nonprofit, Karis Circle, so we appreciate anything you're able to give to support that work. That's how we do our author events, and that's how we get to do this great digital platform. So we are grateful to you for being here, for spreading the word, and again, for supporting artists like Michael, who this is not a great time to be launching a book in the midst of a pandemic, but it is. His book is super relevant. As we have heard tonight, it is necessary wisdom, and it goes down easy because there's humor in it, and we're really, really grateful. So thank you both for a wonderful conversation. Thank you, Denene, for always being our favorite MC. And I hope that everybody stays safe and healthy out there. And until next time, we'll be reading along with you at home. So take care.
Thank you so much. Bye, y'all. I really appreciate it.
Bye,